What's up everybody, my name is Whitney and I'm back with another video. As y'all can see, I switched up my hair finally. I did these over the weekend. I've been wanting to try the spring twist for so long and I finally did it, even though I was dreading it because I absolutely hate doing my own hair. But I think they turned out cute. I tried some color. As you can see, I put some burgundy in there, so I'm still trying to get used to that. But I like it overall. The color just has to grow on me. For today's video, I am going to give you my 10 things that I feel like you should avoid saying to someone who is trying to conceive. If you aren't subscribed to my husband and I's joint channel, Bridgman and Wife, after you watch this video, you should definitely go and subscribe. If you aren't familiar with our channel, then you may be unaware that we have been trying to conceive for about a year and a half. As you can probably imagine, during that time, I've gotten tons of questions and comments and opinions, and a lot of them I think to myself, and I wish, I really wish people would have kept some of them to themselves. So I'm going to give you my top 10. And I have the list here on my phone, so I'm going to be looking at the list so I can keep up with them. Let's get started. Number 1. The first thing on my list is when people ask, how old are you? And then they proceed to say, oh yeah, it's time for you to start having kids. For one, you don't know if I'm ready to have kids. 2, you don't know if I have the desire to have kids. 3, you basically reminded me that I'm getting older, which nobody wants to be reminded of that. I just feel like it's a whole bunch of things that's wrong with that question. I also feel like that it kind of implies that not having children at my age is a choice, which for some people it is, some people it isn't. It's implying that I'm not trying. It's implying that, I can just have children now without any issue. Number 2. Another question I get is, of course, how long have y'all been married? And I tell them about 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years. And they say, well, when are y'all gonna start trying? And I dislike this question as well, because like I said, it basically implies that not having children at this time for us is a choice, which it isn't. We are trying to have a child and it's just not happening for us. It also implies that, like I said, that we aren't trying. It implies that we have no desire. And another thing, I feel like it kind of disregards the fact that we may be having issues, which we are. It disregards the fact that we may have lost a child. And I feel like people don't really take all of that into consideration when they ask these questions. I feel like they take it more as kind of like small talk and they just kind of ask these things. And I don't think they realize the effect that some of these questions may have. Number 3. This one is a little different because it doesn't upset me. And I know that people mean it from a good place. They mean it, they're trying to be positive or they're trying to be optimistic. But the reason that I don't really like this one is because even though they mean it to be comforting, it's not really comforting when you are having difficulties or when you're struggling to get pregnant. And that's, don't stress about it. People always say, oh, don't stress about it, it'll happen. And I try so hard not to stress about it. But when you feel like you've tried everything, you feel like you're doing everything and nothing is happening, you can't help but to stress. And then when you add the money into it, when you have to start paying for treatments, fertility treatments and things like that, it just makes it more stressful. And I know they mean it to be comforting, but it's not always comforting. Number 4. This usually accompanies the how old are you question, and that's when people say, oh, you still have plenty of time. And the reason I don't like this one is because that's kind of subjective, I feel. That's not necessarily the case. And another thing, when people first meet me, they usually assume that I am younger than what I am. I am actually 28 years old and I'll be 29 in 2 days. So yes, I do have a little bit of time, but I don't think I necessarily have as much time as people imply. And I know it's not my say so. I know God has the last say so. I could be 35 and over and still have a child. But we know that the older you get, your chances of naturally conceiving start to decrease. So, you know, that kind of plays into your mind and that adds on to the stress. So that is why I don't like that one. And I know people usually mean it to be comforting. They're trying to be positive, trying to be optimistic. But once again, it's not always comforting when you are struggling with fertility. Number 6. Now, this one is one of my biggest pet peeves. I absolutely hate when people say this. It's so frustrating when people say, oh, y'all are lucky y'all don't have kids. And it's just so frustrating. If you've ever been struggling with fertility issues, if you've ever, lost a child or anything like that, then you would know that lucky is the last word you would use to describe your situation. So when people say that, I don't think they really take into consideration what those words may actually mean to somebody. So I absolutely hate that one. Number 6. This is another one that is frustrating. I hate when people say, oh, I wasn't even trying and I got pregnant. And I just feel like, oh, lucky you. People say, oh, you're lucky that you don't have kids. And I feel like, oh, you're lucky that you weren't even trying and you got pregnant with no issues. So, it's like, it's how different people take different things, which is why I said this is my list of my top 10 things. I just think it's so frustrating when people just say it so nonchalantly and they say, oh, they didn't want any more kids or they weren't even trying to have kids and they got pregnant. And I just wish I just wish I was in that situation. Number 7. This usually goes with the age or the how long have you been married, and people usually follow up with, oh, well, don't wait too long. And I hate that one as well because once again, it implies that I could just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm ready to have a baby and I can just get pregnant right then. I wish it were that easy, but it's not. So I hate when people say, oh, don't wait too long. It's like, I'm trying not to wait too long. Number 8, another one that I don't like is when people say, oh, you must not want to have kids. Because once again, I feel like that implies that not having children is a choice for us, which is not. I feel like they are taking in consideration that we may be possibly trying. They don't take into consideration that we could have possibly been pregnant and lost a child. I just feel like with a lot of these, people don't take all aspects into consideration. And another reason I don't like this one is because I feel like the decision to have children is a very personal decision between a couple. When people ask that question, I kind of feel like it's somewhat invasive, because what we decide is for us, and if we were a couple that decided that we didn't want to have kids, then of course, the follow-up questions would be, well, why don't y'all want to have kids? Don't wait until y'all get too old and then try to decide to have them. I feel like it's kind of a lose-lose situation, like no matter which way you answer that. Number 9, this is another one that goes along with the how long have y'all been married or how old are you, and that's when people say, well, what are y'all waiting on? And again, if I could wake up tomorrow and decide that I want to get pregnant and it just happened, it would happen tomorrow, but it's not that simple. Number 10, I think this is like my second pet peeve, if not the first one. When people say, you're not pregnant yet, like, no, I'm not pregnant yet. If I was, trust me, everybody would know. So I absolutely hate when people just say that. Like, no, clearly I'm not. I have a few honorable mentions that didn't make the top 10 list because these usually come from peers and they say it more so in a joking manner. But I just kind of wanted to mention it anyway because I hear these a lot as well. The first one is when people say, are y'all trying to have kids? And when we say yeah, or when I say yeah, we are, they say, why? And I'm like, because I want to have a child, because I want to be a mother, I want to experience motherhood. It's kind of like, what do you mean why? So that's the first. Number 2, and this usually piggybacks off of that, they say, oh, don't do it, don't have kids, and they proceed to say that they are expensive, they're loud, they're active, they're bad, don't get any sleep. And I know that may be true, but I still want to experience it. And the thing that gets me is they usually come from people who have more than one child. And I just think to myself, well, it can't be as bad as you're trying to make it seem if you decided to, go through it all over again. So it must be some good to it. I feel like I could use that same logic for like marriage. I could say, oh, are you sure you want to get married? It's not always fun. It's hard work. It's this and it's that, which is true, but I would never try to deter anybody from getting married, especially if that's what they really, really wanted to do. I'm not going to deter anybody from getting married because I love being married. This next one usually happens when you're out with your friends or you're at their house and they have kids and those kids are being loud or they're, having a tantrum or something, and they say, are you sure you want to deal with this? And once again, it's like, I know it's not always perfect. I know it's not always going to be fun, but yeah, I do want to deal with it. This last one, now just a little FYI, I work in a nursing home, so I work with the geriatric population. And we all know two groups of people who really don't have a filter. They don't care if they hurt your feelings, are little kids and old people. So I hear this from my sweet little old ladies all the time. And I just have to walk off because I just be too ashamed when they say this. And I love them to death, so I can't really say anything back to them. But when they see me walking down the hall, they'll say, oh, you getting kind of big. Are you sure you're not pregnant? And I'm just like, no ma'am, I'm not. I'm just getting fat. And I just have to walk on back down to the gym because I'm just too shamed by that point. But like I said, I love them to death, so it's like I just can't say anything. I just have to, you just have to take it and walk away. Yeah, you guys, so that was my top 10 things I feel like you should avoid saying to someone trying to conceive. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, comment down below. If you are trying to conceive or if you have ever tried to conceive, comment down below and let me know some of the things that you heard or some of the things that you were asked or told by people that you wish that they, could have just kept to themselves. Leave those down below because I really want to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.